In the opening scene of the movie, we see an ambulance driving through the city of Zomblvll. It arrives at the hospital, where a social worker named Vishwas is helping a wounded man into the clinic. Inside, the place is chaotic and overcrowded. Everyone seems sick with some unknown disease. All the patients have the same symptoms, and the doctors are struggling to calm them down. One of the patients seems especially aggressive, twitching uncontrollably. After the doctors give him a sedative shot, he asks for some water. Vishwas is puzzled by what he's seeing and wants to understand what's really going on. He asks one of the doctors what's happening, and the doctor replies that it might be some kind of poisoning. He then adds sharply that Vishwas should mind his own business, because the situation isn't as simple as he thinks. Vishwas suddenly loses control of himself, grabs the doctor by the neck, and lifts him up with one hand, like the Undertaker. He struggles to control his hand again, apologizes to the doctor, and rushes out. Moments later, the aggressive patient opens his eyes. They're completely white. He starts convulsing violently and turns into a zombie. He begins crawling on the floor, heading toward the people inside the hospital to attack them. The next day, we meet a pregnant woman named Priya, yelling at her husband Sudir inside their car. Sudir tells her to calm down because she's giving him a headache and says they're almost home. She can continue the fight there if she wants. Priya looks away and snaps. "I'm yelling at the baby because he kicked me." When they enter their new apartment building, they find the neighbors arguing with the security guard because the water tank is empty for no reason. Once the couple steps into their apartment, they're thrilled with how spacious it is. They start singing and dancing together, excited about their baby who will soon fill the place with joy. Time passes happily for them. One day, Sudir sees on the news that a dangerous virus is spreading throughout the city. Then, we see an old man walking down the street who encounters a zombie with a horrible smell. Thinking it's a prank, he laughs, until the zombie attacks and bites him. The next morning, Sudir wakes up to get ready for work, not realizing the chaos outside. Meanwhile, Priya is talking to her mother-in-law, who's bossy and hard to deal with. Priya mutters complaints under her breath, just like she did in the car, and again says that the baby kicked her. Sudir heads out to work but finds the streets jammed because of a burst water pipeline. While stuck in traffic, a poor young girl approaches him asking for some water. He tells her he doesn't have any. Eventually, he reaches his company, a bottled water factory. Inside, he learns about a new product they're developing, a type of water that supposedly boosts the immune system. They're planning to export it instead of using it to solve the city's water crisis. At the same time, Vishwas is leading a protest outside the company, accusing it of being the real reason behind the city's water shortage. Security guards come out and shove him hard in the chest. His hand suddenly acts up again. He grabs one of the guards by the throat and lifts him off the ground. Back inside the factory, Sudir notices a restricted area. His boss tells him that no one is allowed in there, only the company's owner has access. Suddenly, the boss is informed about the protest and Vishwas's attack on the security guards. He rushes out to handle the situation. When he arrives, he yells at Vishwas to leave with his people before he calls the police. Vishwas, angry but helpless, walks away with the protesters. Later, Sudir can't stop thinking about the strange power in Vishwas's hand. That night, Priya's pregnancy hormones kick in, and she starts an argument, blaming him. "If you had been more careful, I wouldn't have gotten pregnant." Sudir ignores her. She tells him she's hungry, so he goes out to get her some food. By coincidence, Vishwas is at the same place. He gets a call from his boss, who angrily scolds him for what happened with the factory guards, so he steps outside to take the call. Meanwhile, Sudir is video calling his wife while carrying the food, when suddenly a zombie attacks him. Luckily, Vishwas shows up just in time, saves him, and throws the zombie away with his powerful hand. Vishwas realizes he has seen Sudir before at the factory, and the two start arguing. Vishwas's hand suddenly loses control again and tries to choke Sudir. Vishwas struggles to stop it, but the hand goes berserk and even attacks him. Sudir manages to escape and rushes home. He and his wife go to the police station to report what happened. The officer, however, doesn't take them seriously and says, Don't make a big deal out of it. Sudir insists that the thing which attacked him was definitely a zombie. The officer jokes. That's easy to fix, just cover yourself well when you sleep. Sudir goes back home, lies next to his wife, and actually covers her up just like the officer said. But the next morning, he decides to take matters into his own hands and investigate what's really happening in the city. The next day at the factory, Sudir asks the manager for the production records so he can investigate the water shortage himself. But the manager dodges the question, changing the subject by saying that the company owner is throwing a big party at his house, and that Sudir is invited. Meanwhile, at the police station, Vishwas gets arrested. He insists that he didn't do anything. It was his hand that acted on its own. The officer smirks and says, "Yeah, sure, I totally believe you. But you'll have to hang out with us here for a bit, until someone comes to bail out your hand." That night, Sudir attends his boss's party. On the other side of the city, a swarm of zombies breaks into the factory and attacks the workers. Back at the party, Sudir finally meets the company owner, a charming man at first. He pulls Sudir aside and tells him to adjust the numbers in the pollution control board's reports so they won't get into trouble. Sudir feels uneasy about the request, but the boss cuts him off, saying, "Just do your job and focus on making money instead of worrying about water pollution." At the same time, Priya orders an Uber, but the driver gets lost and can't find her location. Suddenly, a zombie attacks and kills him. Back at the police station, one of the inmates starts annoying Vishwas in the cell, and his cursed hand suddenly wakes up, grabbing the man by the throat and lifting him into the air. The officer rushes in to break up the fight, but right at that moment, zombies storm the station, attacking everyone inside. One of them bites the officer on the neck. Vishwas manages to escape from the cell and locks the zombie inside, but unfortunately, his cellmate turns into a zombie too and attacks him. Vishwas struggles to defend himself, grabs a water jug, and smashes it over the zombie's head. Strangely, the zombie dies the moment the water splashes onto him. Meanwhile, Priya goes down to the street to wait for her Uber, but she's surrounded by a horde of zombies. She grabs her housemaid, and they both run back upstairs. The zombies follow, storming the entire building. Their elderly neighbor appears, thinking it's just a gang attack, but when he sees one of the zombies charging at him, he freezes in terror and can't pull the trigger. Priya grabs his shotgun and fires, hitting the zombie in the back. The three of them run off together. Along the way, they encounter another man being attacked by zombies, save him, and he joins their group. Sudir returns home from the party, but his car is surrounded by zombies. Terrified, he hides inside and holds up a picture of his god, hoping it will somehow protect him, but of course, the zombies aren't impressed. Luckily, Priya and her group spot him and notice that the zombies are drawn to loud noises. They trigger distant car alarms to distract them, and as the zombies rush toward the sound, the group uses the chance to reach Sudir. They all pile into his car and speed away. Later, a reporter and her cameraman arrive at the police station. Inside, they find Vishwas handcuffed next to the corpse of the dead zombie. He frees himself, and the three of them escape together, trying to find a way out of the city. When they reach the city limits, they discover a police checkpoint blocking anyone from leaving, and attempt to contain the infection. Sudir tries to convince the officers they're not zombies and that they're fine, but his clumsy behavior makes them think he's gone insane from the virus. He shouts, "I'm not bitten!" and even strips off his clothes to prove it, but the officers reply, "That doesn't prove anything." The old man in their group points his gun at the officers, trying to scare them, but they shoot him down immediately. With no choice left, the group turns back toward the city, taking the wounded old man with them. As soon as they arrive in the city, they take the old man to the hospital, but unfortunately, they find the place completely overrun by zombies. Even the doctors have turned into them. A fierce fight breaks out between the group and the zombies. Vishwas shoves a table at three of them, while the old man joins in using his wheelchair. Sudir, the coward, runs away, but his bad luck leads him straight into another room full of zombies. He somehow escapes without getting bitten. They all regroup and rush into the emergency room. The zombies try to break down the door, but Brigitte comes up with an idea. She covers the glass window so the zombies can't see them. Her plan works, and the zombies calm down, stopping their attack. Still, the group is trapped inside. Vishwas notices that some of the zombies weren't actually bitten. The doctor explains that it's due to weak immunity, then tells them about the patients he thought were poisoned but later saw transform into zombies with his own eyes. The old man's condition gets worse, so the doctor goes to treat him. Meanwhile, the journalist turns on the TV, hoping to find some news that might help them, but learns that the government has cut off the internet and quarantined the entire city. If things get any worse, they'll sacrifice the whole place to contain the infection. The group starts panicking after hearing that. They argue, and Sudir yells at them to shut up, saying his wife is pregnant. Then he looks down and sees his arm covered in blood. Everyone assumes a zombie bit him. A moment later, the doctor says the old man needs a blood transfusion, type B+. Brigitte asks Sudir to donate because he's a match, but he walks away and locks himself in another room. Brigitte follows him, and Sudir confesses that he was bitten. He tells her to stay away and says he'll lock himself up so he won't be a danger to anyone. They both start crying in a dramatic, emotional scene, and Brigitte wonders how she'll live alone in their new big apartment without him. The next morning, Sudir wakes up acting weird, stretching like a zombie. Brigitte sneaks up behind him and hits him on the head with a metal rod. Then they realize the mark on his arm isn't a bite, it's just a small scratch. Brigitte doesn't believe him at first, so Vishwas checks and confirms he's fine. Overjoyed, Brigitte hugs him tightly. The doctor treats a little girl, while Sudir explains that people in the city are getting sick because of the toxic waste from the factory he works in. The company uses harmful chemicals to treat the water. Vishwas rallies the group, saying they have to go to the factory and stop this once and for all. Brigitte doesn't want Sudir to go, trying to convince him to stay, but he insists. He says he doesn't want to be a cowardly father to his unborn child. The team gears up to face the zombies, covering themselves with anything that might offer protection. Sudir asks Vishwas about his strange hand, saying he can't believe it has a mind of its own. Vishwas tells him that the water company's owner killed his entire family in one night, which awakened a dark spirit inside his hand. The group leaves the room, plays a song on a phone, and throws it far away to distract the zombies. The trick works. The zombies run toward the sound, giving the team a chance to escape the hospital. They hop in a car and head straight for the factory. Once inside, they discover the place crawling with zombies. Just like before, they throw a water bottle to make noise, and the zombies chase after it, allowing the group to move deeper in. They reach the main water pipe gate and are terrified by the sight of a dead guard, but they push through and break the gate open. Inside, they find massive amounts of toxic chemicals. Suddenly, the factory owner and the manager show up and offer the group a huge bribe to leave them alone. They refuse. Vishwas points his gun at the owner, who mocks him and insults his father. Sudir warns him not to react, but it's too late. Vishwas's cursed hand takes control and pulls the trigger. The shocking part? The gun's empty. The factory manager fires back, hitting Vishwas in the arm, then escapes with the owner. Their luck runs out when they run straight into the zombie factory workers, who attack and devour them both. Sudir and his team try to escape but can't. They barely make it into a room and lock the door, surrounded by zombies. Vishwas's wound gets worse, and the journalist rushes to help him. They all lose hope of making it out alive. Sudir calls his wife, telling her to leave the hospital and get to safety because he might not make it back. Brigitte starts crying, but her maid comforts her, agreeing that he's right, they need to run. The hospital group tries to flee, but one of them locks the door on everyone else out of revenge for a past fight. The zombies are closing in fast, but suddenly, a mysterious person breaks the glass door and throws in a smoke grenade. The sprinklers go off from the smoke, and in the chaos, they all escape. Brigitte spots the coward who trapped them trying to drive off in an ambulance. She yanks him out, punches him, then gets in with the others and drives away, leaving him behind to die. Meanwhile, Sudir snaps out of his despair. He refuses to die at the hands of a bunch of zombies, smashes the window, and escapes with his team, only to face an even larger horde outside. With no other choice, they fight. Vishwas unleashes the full power of his hand and uses it to take down the zombies. The whole group fights bravely, but more and more zombies swarm in, forcing them to retreat. Brigitte, driving the ambulance, spots a fire truck nearby. She tells the others, "Keep going! I'm going to save my husband!" Another person volunteers to go with her. Vishwas and his friends make it out of the factory, trying to hold back the zombies with metal barriers, but it's useless. They're surrounded again. Just in time, the fire truck arrives with Brigitte and her partner. They blast the zombies with water, freezing them instantly. Sudir and his team realize water is the zombies' weakness. They grab another hose and help spray them down, wiping them out completely. The zombie outbreak is finally over. Later, a reporter asks Vishwas how he managed to stop the zombies. He replies that all the credit goes to his beloved hand, not mentioning Sudir or anyone from the team. Sudir, on the other hand, has more important things to focus on. His wife has just given birth to a beautiful baby girl. He celebrates with his family, smiling with relief and joy. In the final scene, we see the coward who betrayed them turned into a zombie, stumbling down the train tracks, until a speeding train hits him. And that's how our story ends. Thanks for watching.